Good afternoon, everyone. It's Kalini Kent here, and I'm going in conversation with the amazing Lisa Johnson. We have had some interesting tech issues today, so hence why we're a little bit late, but better late than never. And I'd love to introduce this amazing lady who some of you will know. Hello, Lisa. Oh my God. We have had the most crazy time just now, having to start with Zoom, and it shows a bit of tenacity, doesn't it, my dear?
It does. And you know what worked? Oh, I can hear my own voice. I might put headphones on. You know what worked? What worked is switching it off and starting again, which is a lesson for us all, I think.
Something as simple as that.
Absolutely.
It's a lovely hot stonking day, so I've actually got the fan on at the moment. It's just so warm. How about you? Where are you at the moment?
Yeah, I'm actually in a quite nice, can you still hear me okay with these on? I'm actually in a lovely cooled room, but I'm about to go away for the weekend, so which means getting in a hot car for a couple of hours, which I'm not really looking forward to, if I'm honest.
Do you know what? I've just seen this morning in fact, it was last night on your Instagram, you've set up this new page and it's got the most amazing pictures of you on holiday.
Yeah, everybody always asks me, because I travel for about 6 months of the year and we go to the most luxury places. People are always saying, oh, where would you take kids? Because I've got twins. Where would you do this? What's the best place for this? And so I thought, I'll just set up an Instagram account where I just tell people where I am all the time, and so they can see. And it's kicked off quite quickly. I've got like 370 something people on there already.
That's fantastic. Where are you taking that Instagram account? What are you going to be doing with it?
Not sure yet. Just starting it up, see what happens, which is what I do with everything, and just see where it goes.
And you know what? Actually, in fact, it would be a nice thing it's a lovely thing to actually. It's a way of capturing all your memories, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Go on. What's your favourite place you've ever been to?
I love Las Vegas, and I know that's like, I've been to all these beautiful places with like amazing views, and I love Las Vegas because it's just like a playground for adults, and it's so I've been there like 19 times. It's so sad right now because I can't imagine the Strip, how the world is right now. I can't even think about going there until things go a bit more back to normal.
And not only that, but it must be, I mean, how they're coping with all of the lockdown and everything. You know, they've probably lost loads of money, haven't they?
Oh, God, you imagine the amount that they're losing just in shows, you know, like huge Cirque du Soleil type shows. No one will be able to go to any of them.
Yeah, and I mean, I feel so sorry for all of them. I mean, I'm in the theatre business, and so it's awful when people just can't even do shows at all. But it's so lovely to have you here, and in fact, I've been on your Genius course this week. I've been doing that, and it's been fantastic.
Oh, good. I'm glad.
Already loads. So what we're going to do today, guys, is we're going to, obviously, Lisa's going to be able to tell us lots about her background and her history. We're going to talk about things like values and how she got to where she got to, because you have had an amazing journey, haven't you? You've actually sort of turned yourself around so that you are just sort of like, obviously earning a lot of money, but you're a business strategist. So do you want to tell us a little bit more about how it all started?
Yeah, it all started quite funnily. So I'm not one of those people that grew up knowing I wanted to be an entrepreneur. There's loads of people like that, and I wasn't that. I just wanted to get out of where I was, which was, you know, living in a council estate in Lincolnshire, and thinking, well, how can I get out of this? And I was bullied my entire childhood. So just wanted to leave school and start working in some way. So I left school at 16 and started working just as an office junior, and kind of clambered my way up a corporate ladder. Ended up doing a law degree when I was like late 20s, while working full time. And then eventually got to a point where I was working in an investment bank, and it was like, okay, this is all good. You know, I'm earning quite a lot of money. This is cool. And then I unexpectedly got pregnant with twins. And so had to rewrite my whole story, because I went back to work when they were 5 months old. And it was very much like, you know, I can't really do this forever. You know, I was going out the house before they even woke up. I didn't see them hardly at all. So I knew I had to change things. And the easiest way that I could think of to change it is to just get a 9-to-5 job, like somewhere near my house, so I can at least see them in the morning and in the evening. And so that's what I did. So I went from this risk analyst job in the city to a £20,000 PA job, because that was all I could find. And so it changed everything for me. And while I was working there, I got very bored and wanted to do something different. And so decided to start a business. And I didn't know anything about businesses, but I decided to start a business anyway, and started a wedding planning business. And the first year was a real hard slog, like while working full time, trying to become a wedding planner. I was getting weddings, but I wasn't making any money, and realized I needed to turn it all around. And so at the end of the first year, I decided to learn everything I could about business, and did a lot of self-development work and turned that business around until it was profitable. And then realized that actually the thing that I really loved to do, people kept coming to me and asking me how I'd done it, how I'd made the wedding planning business profitable. I started teaching them all the things that I'd learned, and realized that actually that's what I wanted to do, is to become a business coach. So 3 years ago, I started business coaching, and you could tell it was the exact right thing that I should be doing, because straight away the profit was coming in, and within 3 years we hit 1 million. So yeah, it's been a wild ride, but it's been really fun.
So at any point, did, in terms of like thinking about where you were going to go, did the vision just sort of like happen, or did you plan it, or was it just all just happening around you?
It didn't. I didn't really plan. Like, there's no way when I first started up as a business coach, I was 30,000 in debt at that point. My plan was, I'm going to really try and get out of this £30,000 in debt within a year. My plan was not 7 figures. Like, there was at no point did that occur that I could even do it. I had the same limiting beliefs and money mindset problems as everybody else out there. But once I started to realize that actually I can do this, and actually it's working, and actually I'm good at it, like I can actually help people, then I realized that actually I couldn't carry on with this. But halfway through, like about 1.5 years in, I realized that actually I wasn't really enjoying it, because I was working, I'd given up my 9 to 5, but I was working from 6 in the morning to 11 o'clock at night. And so I was still not seeing the kids. So it was like something needs to change. And that's when I kind of started looking at passive income and diversified income streams, and how that could give you a bit more freedom. Started adding those into my life, courses and memberships and jewelry ranges and all these different kinds of things. And that's what took me from like the low 6 figures to the 7 figures. But it also took me from working all the hours to working a third of those hours.
And in fact, we're going to get onto the passive income, what it means, because some people listening might not actually completely understand the concept. And but what I wanted to just backtrack a bit with is that you've mentioned some amazing things, and it takes a lot of courage, doesn't it, to actually say, I'm going to change this. And I think a lot of people are in that situation at the moment, aren't they? Where they're actually, what am I going to do? Where do I go? Because I've been furloughed, or my job might be changing. And it does take a lot of courage. And you've mentioned things like limiting beliefs, and it can hold you back. And one of the biggest ones that holds people back is fear, isn't it? And that they just don't want to go for it. So, what you've had to overcome things. What have you used as your strategies?
And fear is the biggest one. Because we know that fear and success never go hand in hand. And fear was my biggest one. I was afraid to be visible because of my background in bullying. I'm being bullied. And I now work for a lot of anti-bullying organisations. But that was my biggest thing. And I thought, what if I am visible and then people are mean to me online? People say nasty things. And people say, oh, that never happens. And it did happen. And so it was like, well, it does happen. It's more about how you are going to deal with it. And whether you're going to let that fear of it happening hold you back. And someone once said to me, and I can't remember who it was, someone said, other people's opinions of you are never going to pay your bills. And that sentence changed everything for me, because I was like, yeah, that's not going to pay my bills. Like, why do I care what strangers on the internet think about who I am? They're never going to know who I really am. And so it made me less fearful. And now I'm allow fear to be there. So for instance, if I walk out onto a stage, I'm terrified, like every time. It never gets easier. I've got a TEDx talk in October. Already the fear is coming in. But I can accept that the fear is there and go, okay, I can feel that I'm feeling this fear, but I'm not going to let it be the loudest voice in my head.
Yeah.
Because there's things I need to do and want to do.
And there's another thing as well, which I say is that, you know, other people's opinions of you, this is a quote I love, which is other people's opinion of you are none of your business. You know, really, what they've got. And also another one for me is that really things happen to you, people say things, people do things, but actually you aren't in control of that. All you can control is your own destiny and how you choose to respond to things, isn't it?
Yeah, it's absolutely right. I always think about the circle of influence. You can only influence so many people, and actually you only want to influence so many people. So it, you know, I'm not going to influence what other people do, but I can influence how I react to it.
Yes.
And I'm still learning that all the time, because I still can react very quickly, hot-headedly, if I feel any kind of unfairness. And that's because I care about integrity so much. And I'm only just learning now, you can't fight every battle. You've got to choose your battles.
Yeah. And I mean, be honest with you, something else that resonates with me is the fact that I was bullied tremendously as a child. It's actually one of the reasons I work with a lot of people who have been bullied, and I've written my own anti-bullying program, because bullying can leave so many behavioural markers on you, can't they? They can leave you feeling so your self-esteem, your self-worth, self-belief, everything gets affected, doesn't it?
Yeah, and people don't realise that. I think people think, yeah, but you were bullied as a kid. Like all kids get. I've heard so many times, all kids get bullied. You know, some kids get bullied, but you take it with you. All of the things that you've heard, you know, you're ugly, you'll make nothing of yourself, you're poor. All those things stay with you, and you start to believe them, and they become your limiting belief. So I do think, however, that you can use that adversity to either stop you, or you can use it to fuel your success. I think there's no better two fingers people than becoming very, very successful and very, very rich. So it kind of fuels me. When I think, oh, I can't do this, I think, no, that's what they said, that I wouldn't be able to. So just get out there and do it.
Yeah, I just was going to share a couple of comments. This is Sam Newey, who's actually said, "Love, I'm not going to let it be the loudest voice in my head." And that is so powerful, isn't it? Because you do. I mean, I have my little, in fact, here we go. I have my chimp, because I'm going to work with people who's our chimp on our shoulder, who actually constantly, I use this in schools, not with adults.
Use it with adults.
Is that chimp that's sort of saying negative things in your head, isn't it? And that can hold you back so much from going for the things that you want in your dreams. Yeah. And it is about, in fact, we were going to talk about pivotal books which have made, have impacted. The one for me is the Stephen Covey one, which is like, you know, begin with the end in mind. You know, you need to know where you're going, don't you?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You have to goal set. And it's why every year we sit down and go, right, what do we want to get out of this year? Yeah. What's our intention for this year? And then you can pull the pieces in and work backwards. But yeah, you've got to start with that. A lot of people come to me and say, because I'm known for talking about money, like money is one of my big things. People come to me and they say, oh, I really want to make some more money. And I'm like, okay. And they're like, but it doesn't seem to be working. I'm like, well, how much money do you want to make? Oh, I don't know. Like, if you don't know, how can you even know what you're aiming for? Like, work out exactly what you want your life to look like and go for it.
So go on. I bet everybody's really excited to hear all about the passive income and what it means and all that. Because you started off, didn't you, with earning about 100,000, you said, in your first year, and then rapidly it became sort of 7 figures, didn't it?
Yeah, so, it was 100K in the first 6 months. I hit 220,000 in the first year. And then very quickly, it just went up from there. I plateaued for a little bit on the 220 because I couldn't take on any more clients physically. I was trading time for money. Yeah. So, you know, people would say to me, oh, I'd like to work with you, take my money. And I was like, I can't. I don't have a second hour in the day that I could do it. I only have so many hours. And I sat there realizing that, you know, I'd been burnt out 3 times in that year. I was like, this isn't the life that I wanted. I do want this much money, but I would really like to have a life where I can actually travel, where I can spend time with the kids, where I'm not just on my phone constantly working, and where there's no income ceiling, because I felt very much like there was an income ceiling. I couldn't take on any more people. And that's why I knew I had to change to passive income. And once I did, the income ceiling goes and you work smarter instead of harder, and you start earning money a lot quicker.
So do you want to explain the concept of passive income for those people who don't know?
It's a passive income really is just anything where you're no longer trading time for money. So you build an asset up front and then you sell it time and time again without having to do any more work. So if you think of the easiest example, the one I always tell everybody is a spare room. Like if you've bought a house and you have a spare room and you paint the room and you put a bed in the room and you've done all the hard work, you've done all this stuff and you've marketed the room, you've put it on Gumtree or Craigslist, you've done your marketing, someone's come in, they're now a tenant, you then don't have to do anything else. They'll pay you every single month and you won't have to do anything. That's like the simplest way of explaining passive income. And there's passive income and there's semi-passive. The semi-passive is where you don't do nothing. So if I explain in my business, I have a completely passive income stream, which is my jewelry. So somebody will go onto my shop on my website, they'll see a piece of jewelry they like, they will buy that jewelry. My designer will make the jewelry, send them the jewelry, get an invoice in for the jewelry, and then pay me a bit of it because my name's on it. That's completely passive. The money comes in passively. Semi-passive is like my courses. So I had like a 10-month course that there was 10 modules. I packaged it into one course, put it on my website, people could buy it. But what I noticed is even though that was great, I was waking up in the morning with more money in the bank than I went to sleep in because someone's bought the course and gone away and I don't have to do anything because the presentations are made, the Zoom recordings are done, the workbooks are done already. That's the asset that I've built up front. What was happening was they weren't getting the results that I really wanted them to get because everybody buys a course, then they don't do it. So I thought what I'll do instead is I will go and I will deliver the module live once a month for 1 hour. And it's already made. So all I have to do is say it, like go on there and deliver it. Now, if I show up, they're more likely to show up and they can ask questions. So I do 10 hours work and make around 300K for those 10 hours. So it's still leveraging your time because if I did 10 hours work with one client, I'd maybe make 20K. But if I do 10 hours work for many, many people at the same time, then I'm going to make a lot more money. So I now have most of my offerings semi-passive because integrity is a big thing for me and I want to make sure people actually do get the results I promise them. And if you give them a little accountability, they're more likely to.
And I think that is also really powerful because people buy people, don't they? And they get to know you. And it's also that factor of sort of like the connection there, isn't there? As you said, people are more likely to go if it's not just a webinar online, which you can pick up anytime.
Yeah, people will go if it's live. They're more likely to listen to you, but also they can ask questions when they're stuck. And if someone's stuck and you can move them forward, then they're more likely to get to the end. They're more likely to make the money or whatever results you're promising them. And that's important because with passive income, you don't want to put something out there once and make a load of money. And then everyone says, oh, it wasn't very good, but you've made that money. Because the passiveness of passive income comes the second time, the third time, the fourth time, the fifth time, when everything's already made, when your all of your workbooks are done, all of that kind of stuff is already done. It's almost like you get paid for doing not very much at that point. The only way you're going to get to the second, third, fourth time is if people are getting results and shouting about how good you are and how much money they've made because of you or whatever else it is that you're promising them. So you need those testimonials. The only way to get testimonials is to make sure that people get results. And
the other thing I've noticed is that you're very much hands-on, aren't you? You are accessible. There are some people who, they're just not accessible. You can't really talk to them. If you send you a message, you respond, which is lovely.
I think it's really important to have some boundaries. Yeah. So I do have boundaries in business, but I don't want to be one of those people that have a membership and I'm never in there. Like I want to be in there. That's the whole reason that people join a membership, to hang out with you. So you should be hanging out with them. And it's the same with courses. If someone buys a course to work with me, they get me. They don't get my 5 other coaches and I'm gone, But you have to have boundaries as well. So for instance, if I'm on a course, if someone messages me, I don't answer. My team answer. I don't answer emails. My team answer generally. But there are always ways in which they can get hold of me if they're working with me in some way, whether that's a Facebook group or some other way.
So how big is your team then?
So now it was nothing until I got to 7 figures. So I did 7 figures with no team and no ads and no affiliates. But then I realized that what got me to that wasn't going to get me any further because I was just like suddenly getting busier again. I wanted to make sure I had a balance, actually enjoying my life, not just working all the time. So I now have an operations manager, Zoe, she's amazing. I have my husband who does my copywriting, because he's a copywriter, so why not? I have my sister that does all of my social media kind of stuff, and I have a Facebook ads manager as well. So yeah, I have lots of different people doing lots of different things, and it kind of works for me now.
And then when it comes to actually putting the course content together and stuff, is that you? Yeah, that's brilliant. So there, you've got ownership of it and stuff like that. It
has to come from me, because I'm teaching what's in my brain.
Yeah.
What's already happened to me. It's too difficult to get somebody else to do that.
So, because I think for people starting out and trying to emulate what you've done, because your courses are incredible, and obviously you get a lot of people buying into them because you give value. And I think that is the really key thing, isn't it? People getting value.
I think it's a massive thing. I'd much rather under promise and over deliver. Than I've done courses where you've gone, oh, is this it? Like, this isn't helping me. This is so basic, or they didn't say they weren't going to be in it, or it's just not very good. I'd much rather just under promise a little bit so that people are wowed when they do come in and go, oh, I didn't expect it to be as good as this, which is a much better feeling for people to go away with. I think value is everything. I think you can charge whatever you like if you're giving the value that you're promising.
In fact, using the word value, shall we talk about values a bit more? Because you've mentioned a couple of times integrity. And I mean, everybody, personally, I think people need to live by their values, because if you don't do anything in alignment with your values, it just doesn't seem right, does it? It just doesn't.
And you can tell. People can tell anyway. Like, people looking in will always tell if you're saying one thing. There's a load of people out there that spout community over competition. They don't believe it. They say it because they think it needs to be said, but what they mean is community over competition until the competition comes along. And I felt a lot of that in my first couple of years of business, because I was quick, because I got to those milestones quickly. I was ghosted a lot from people that said community over competition. And so it really made me realize that one of the things that is going to be really important to me is really meaning community over competition, really meaning living those values of integrity. And that means saying no to people that you can't help, even if they're handing you money. Saying, no, this would be a better fit for you. It means saying to someone, actually, the reason you're not making any money is because your website's not very good. And being blunt, but, truthful about it. Because there's so many people that don't do that, that just stroke egos. And I'm not here to stroke egos. I'm here to help people make money.
And when we talked before this, we talked about how you think transparency is really important as well, isn't it? Apart from that.
And like the good and the bad in business, it's very easy to show all the amazing things. I could have a feed that just showed me being on holiday all the time and how everything's amazing. And people would think, oh my God, how come my business doesn't feel like this? Because nobody's business ever feels like that. There's always going to be some hard bits in business. And I think it's really important that we as leaders talk about the bad things that happen in business and the hard things and how to get through those things. And not like all those people that said to me, invisible, no one's ever going to bully you online. That was a lie. And if I'd have known that they would be, I would have been able to deal with it better. So I talk to people and say, well, you might get a troll every now and again. But let's think how you'll deal with that so that you're ready for it. And you might lose money in the first year. You might not get anybody on your course the first time you launch. How are we going to deal with that so that you move through it rather than give up at those points?
And that's where things like mindset and confidence come in, don't they? Which are so important, aren't they? Having a mindset that you realize, okay, you can glass half full versus glass half empty. You can't. It's about picking yourself up again and having another go, isn't it? And believing. I think it's
not being afraid of failing is the biggest part of it, because if people are so scared of failing that they don't try, or they try and when they fail, it's almost like they've told themselves they're going to fail and they're like, see, I knew this would happen. So I'm not going to do any more. You have to fail. You have to get knocked back. So you're only going to learn what to do by doing that. So you may as well get the failures out of the way now and look forward to them.
And that's a brilliant attitude, actually, isn't it? Because it will happen, won't it? Not everything is going to work.
I've put loads of people always say everything you touch turns to gold. It doesn't. I just don't shout about the things that didn't. So I've put courses out there that haven't worked, that nobody's bought. I just quietly take them away again and not mention them ever again.
That's brilliant.
We all fail, and it's not a failure, it's learning. It's then, why didn't they buy it? What do they want instead? What can I tweak about this?
And I think actually that self-reflection is important, isn't it? Because sometimes people don't reflect on what's gone wrong. They do something. It's like when I do presentation skills things, I actually say to people, once you've done it, you do the post-mortem. You work out what went well, what didn't go well. And so you make sure you can improve for next time. And nothing's built in a day either, is it? You know, you have to work and do the graft, don't you?
Yeah, and it takes time. Like, I feel like we've become these entrepreneurs that you remember, like 5 or 10 years ago, when our parents had businesses and they would say, if I break even in year 3, then I will have seen it as a real profitable business. If we don't break even or make 6 figures in 3 months, we feel like we've failed.
Yeah.
And that's ridiculous. Like, yeah, it looks like people are doing that. Like, people always look at me and go, but in 3 years, you went from nothing to 7 figures. Yeah, that's what I did monetary wise. But before that, I had another business where I did all the hard slog for 4 years. So, you know, there is no overnight. Every overnight success takes 5 years.
Yeah, it doesn't happen. It doesn't happen straight away, does it? And it does take a lot of planning and a lot of, and in fact, just doing your Genius thing at the moment, like you've sent that planner, and that's brilliant because it shows that you can't just sort of say, oh, I'm going to do this and then not have the steps in place.
And that's what happens. People go, I'm going to rock up and I'm going to do a launch. And so they go, I'm just telling all of my audience about it. And you've now seen in Challenge Genius how many tiny steps there actually are to get to that point. People only see the surface. They don't see my legs running underneath.
Yeah.
You know, they see the surface, they see the calm, but there's a lot of stuff that goes into doing everything underneath.
And I think that goes for a lot of people who are successful and the ones who are unsuccessful. You know, there again, we won't get into what's the definition of success. It's your own definition, isn't it? But I think there is a lot of, as you say, a lot of stuff going on underneath the surface. And people do want to put out this persona, don't they, all the time, that things are really going well. It's social media, isn't it? That I'm really successful. And I think it is about sometimes having that courage to ask for help and to say, I need support here.
And be vulnerable. Like, people really do want to help other people. Be vulnerable and ask for that help. And even, like, one of the biggest things I see is people saying, well, no one's buying my stuff. And when I have a look, they're not asking people to buy their stuff.
Yeah.
You know, you have to ask for the sale. You have to really have confidence in what you're doing enough to be able to sell properly. You actually go out there and say, here's some stuff I've got. Would you like it?
In fact, I love that example you used on Monday, which was about you go to the shops. Now, you wouldn't go to the shops and then not have anything for sale. You need things, and you need offers.
Yeah, you wouldn't be annoyed, would you? Like, people are annoyed. Well, how dare you sell to me on Facebook? How dare you have a free group and give all this value and then try and sell me something? You would never, ever go into a shop and go, well, this is annoying. They've got chocolate bars on the shelf for me. Like, you expect to be there. It's a shop. It's a business. That's what we're here to do. We're here to sell.
Yeah. And in fact, that's a really good example and analogy, isn't it? Because when you're in the shop, the sales assistant, if you're asking them questions, they will answer your questions. They'll ask you, and then they say, well, which one, you know, they'll ask you which you want to buy, won't they?
What do you want to buy?
So it is very, very true. So, I mean, and the other thing I just was going to touch on as well is you've obviously mentioned the transparency, the boundaries, but also you mentioned something really important to me, which is about letting things and people go if it's not working for you. Do you want to explain a bit more about that?
Yeah, I think it's important to let things go. And this isn't just people, which is important to let people go. You know, I think what happens a lot of times in business is people that were on your journey maybe at the beginning don't understand where you are or aren't the right people to be around you where you are when you start growing. And it's okay to let people go. You don't have to be liked by everybody. It's all right for that not to happen. But also things, if something's not working for you, you don't have to keep going forever. Yes, you should be consistent with it and try and make something work. But if it isn't working and you've tweaked it and it's still not working, let it go and rethink. You know, it doesn't have to be there. Like, I had a wedding business, and with that wedding business, I thought that was going to be my life, you know. But if I actually sat down and thought about it, I wanted a business where I could travel all the time and spend a lot of weekends with my twins. I then made a business where I was never going to be able to do that because I was doing weddings every single weekend throughout the entire summer. So, you know, even though I'd made this business profitable and it was really working, I had to let it go because it didn't align with the life that I was going to eventually want. Yeah, and so I gave it away.
In fact, you did. It's amazing when you told me the story of what you did with your wedding business. Because do you want to share it? Because I think it's also typical of you as a person, which I think people need to understand. Because your values are amazing, really. Do you want to share what you did?
Sure. Yeah. My values are the most important thing to me in life, so I always adhere to those values. But so we were going to sell it. So we're like, okay, it's a really profitable business. Let's sell it to somebody and make some money, and then we'll just carry on with the coaching business. So me and my husband interviewed loads of people that said they wanted to buy the business. But all of them, that first question they asked is, how much money will it make us? And, you know, if you're a wedding planner, that's not the thing that you should care about the most. Like, you should care about the people and, you know, you should have a passion for wedding planning. And I didn't feel like they had the right values and the right alignment with what I started that wedding planning company out as. So in the end, we decided not to sell it. And instead, we'd do a competition to find the person that would be an amazing wedding planner, but they just financially couldn't start their own business, so that they could skip forward 5 years and have an amazing portfolio and, you know, have the SEO ready to go and have a network of people in the industry that was going to help them. And we did a competition. We found that person and they now own Carmela Weddings.
Wow. And you just gave it away, didn't you?
Yeah, gave it away and coached her on how to make it work.
And has it been successful? Has she carried on being a success?
Yeah.
Oh, that is so lovely.
And she was the perfect person for it.
But it does mean, though, that you're making space, aren't you? Sometimes people take on so much, don't they? I mean, I can be guilty of that. I think we all can be, where you just think, I can do that. We've all got a lot of innate abilities, haven't we? So we could actually turn our hands to lots of different things. And in fact, it was a conversation you and I had where you said to me, I'm about being known for one thing, and it's really resonated, and I've done something about it.
Oh, good. Yeah, because I think we can all go, well, yeah, I could do that and that and that. There's a lot of us that are jack of all trades out there. Like, I can teach business basics. I can teach passive income. I can teach how to do affiliate marketing. I teach all these different things. But what do you want to be known for? Because the further you niche, the more likely you will be known. So that's why, you know, I'm now known as the passive income queen. But I wasn't, you know, I was known for all these different things. It was only when I niched. And remember, I gave myself that title. No one said, oh, Lisa's the passive income queen. I said that I was until people remembered it. And that's what you need to do. You need to keep repeating the same thing over and over again so people realise that's your thing.
So what do you think are your sort of reasons you've been successful, you know, your key skills, do you think?
I think the biggest one by far is consistency. Most people give up on certain parts of being an entrepreneur. The building an audience bit, so many people give up at that stage because it's hard. You can easily be having a Facebook group or a page or an Instagram and going live and doing all these things and nobody is listening. It will feel like tumbleweed. But you have to get through that stage because eventually they will. If you keep showing up, if you keep being consistent, they will come. But people get bored and they leave. So I think consistency has been my biggest one. I also think that I give everything away, and I don't think that's a bad thing. Like, people are really guarded with their information. They're like, well, I don't want to give away too much for free. I give away everything for free because people don't come into courses and memberships for the knowledge. They come into those things for support, for accountability, for step-by-step, for hand-holding. And that can't be given away. So you can give as much value as you like. And so in all of the challenges I do, all of the webinars I do, I give everything. And people actually take some of that. They go away, they make money with the free stuff that I've told them, and then they come back and pay for a course because of it. So it's worth you doing it. You know, this is all about integrity at the end of the day. Everything you should do should be knowing that you can sleep at night. Like, I can charge 20 grand to work with me because I give away so much, so I can sleep at night. It's about doing the right thing.
And that's really interesting, isn't it? Because some people feel that giving away is actually, oh, they're going to use it. but actually it's about knowing how to implement that knowledge, isn't it?
Yeah, and they might use it, but let's say they do. Let's say they go away and they use it, and you've made somebody make a load of money without paying. So what? There's going to be enough people out there that will pay. So, allow that to happen.
Yeah. And can I just bring you back to a quote that we talked about, some quotes which are important to us. And one of them was, "And this too shall pass." I was looking up, actually. It's got quite an interesting origin, hasn't it?
It has, yeah. But I love it. I love that entire quote, because there are going to be times in your business where you think, oh my God, this is awful. I've been there. When I was bullied online, I put a blanket over my head and I didn't want to surface at all for a month. Yeah. But actually, everything passes. Every bad part, there's going to be a good part. If you're already feeling like you're on the way down, celebrate it, because it means you can only go up.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to get bad things. The life of an entrepreneur isn't this.
Yeah.
Is this. So, like, get ready for it and know that everything will pass. Oh, thank you, Rachel.
Yeah, sorry, I've just shown some of these. That's Rachel, great interview, ladies. And then Rachel again, I didn't worth every single penny. And I think a lot of people do believe that about your course. Well, everybody I think I've spoken to, they believe it because they do get so much out of it. And that's really good, because you are generous with your knowledge and your content, aren't you?
And I think it's important that you really try and get people results. And I think the people in my courses can see that. Like, I really want them to do well.
And when you've, in fact, one of the things we said we were also going to talk about is you have had a few pivotal moments in your life, haven't you? But you were going to share one of them, which again is, if you care to.
Yeah. I've rewritten my story so many times, but it's always because something happens. And I think we are guided. I'm not very woo at all, as most people know, but sometimes something happens that feels like a wake-up call.
Yeah.
And when we moved house, and we moved from London to Hertfordshire, and it was my kids' first week at school, and I was on the phone dealing with a launch, and I was so busy because I was trying to launch at the same time as having one-to-ones and having just moved house, and I forgot to pick the kids up from school. Oh, and you know that proper mum guilt when someone rings and says, "Are you picking the kids up?" And you're like, "Oh, how have I forgotten to actually pick my own children up in their first week of a new school?" Because I wasn't used to picking them up. The childminder used to do it at the old place. And there was just all this guilt. And that was a pivotal moment, because that's when I realised I cannot be this busy. I cannot live like this. Something needs to change. And that's when the passive income started really hitting home for me, that I needed a different way to make money.
And that's brilliant. And so obviously you went for that. And so what is your current, you've got an amazing lifestyle now, haven't you? So you said to me that you work probably 24 to 30 hours a week, and you've obviously got your holidays. You want to describe it more?
24 to 30 hours a month.
Oh, a month. Oh my gosh. I thought it was a week.
No. Wow. I work about 4 days a week, somewhere between 9 and 10. I start and finish at about 3. And I don't work all of those hours. As you've seen, I'm on holiday a lot of the time. So I love to travel. So when we travel, we take the kids when we can, and I have 2 hours in the morning of proper head down. And this is my husband as well, because he now has his own copywriting business because of my business. So it's head down, go and working, and then we go and explore and have fun. And that's how, like today, as soon as I finish this interview, I'm off on a little mini break. And that's how my life is now. Like, I don't want to work all the time.
Wow. And your children obviously are reaping the benefits of that, aren't they?
They are. Sometimes I don't know whether that's a good thing. They are very used now to travel. Last year they went to, I think it was like 12 countries. Yeah. And they're 8. And so things that I think it's really hard with money mindset. I'm a big believer of not saying things to your children like money doesn't grow on trees and that kind of thing, because that's what made me think I could never make money. And so I really want my kids to believe that money is totally possible and you can have what you want without turning them into spoiled brats. But there is a fine line. And so I'm constantly having to work out how to show them they can have things, but also give them the value of money. Because they say things now and I'm like, oh, that's not how I want them to think. So it's always a struggle for me to be able to do that. So for instance, we took them to Disneyland last year. And I was really like wanting one of those videos where you tell the kids they go to Disneyland and they get so excited they jump up and down. And Albert, who is a bit of a drama kind of boy, he said he's a diva. And the first thing he said was, "Oh, I hope we're going business class, mummy, because that's about 12 hours on a plane." And that moment when you go, what have I done? How have I done this? And so now it's like really trying to show them the value of money. So we've given them like little credit cards, these Go Henry credit cards, and we put like £4 on it each week, and they get to budget and they get to see that if they do things, they get money. If they don't do things, they're not getting money. And it's always that sort of wrestling with yourself on how you should show the value of money, but not ruin their money mindsets forever like mine was.
And because children are like blotting paper, aren't they? And from the age of the values are developing from the age of like 2 up to say 7. And it's it's nature versus nurture, isn't it? And it's what you're imparting to them. And this is where parents worry so much, don't they? And I see
why. It's so hard. It's like you're consistently trying to have this balance. And I always think about the things that I heard growing up and the things that I was told, like you have to work really hard for money. That really screwed me over when I had a business because I was working all of the hours thinking that was the only way. And it isn't true. It's about working hard, like smarter, not harder. But then if you tell a kid, well, you don't have to work really hard for money, they're going to go, great, I'll just be lazy then. You know what I mean? Like there's a real thin line. It's hard. And I don't have the answers.
So how much was your upbringing sort of like pivotal in what you're doing now?
I think quite a lot because, we were poor. We didn't have much money at all. I remember secondhand clothes. I got a scholarship to go to a private school when I was 11 in secondhand schools with lunch vouchers. And when everybody else was being picked up in their Bentleys, I was being picked up on the back of my dad's motorbike. And I was in a single parent family. My dad brought us up. And right from the beginning, I got bullied because I was poor. And so that for me was huge. Like you imagine the money mindset stuff that comes with being bullied because you're poor. Like when I was starting my business, the entire loop in my head was people from where you come from don't earn 6 figures. They don't get why you're not worthy enough to earn this because of where you come from. And obviously that's low crap. We can all earn whatever we want to earn. But that took a lot of mindset work to get over those bits.
Because, I mean, there's some amazing people who started from very difficult times, Branson, and all sorts of people who've done it and who've had to actually face adversity. I mean, I'm doing a course at the moment about adverse childhood experiences, becoming a train the drainer. And I think it's just so important because, I mean, this at the moment we're going through is like trauma, but children go through so much as children. And, we've talked you've mentioned the bullying several times, and it really, really has an impact. And if people could only realise, I know people do sometimes bully because of what they're going on through themselves.
Hurt people.
But I think it is about thinking about the impact of your behaviour. And one of my values is like treat people like I'd like to be treated myself. And if you live by that, it really helps, doesn't it?
Oh, it massively helps. And I think that one of the things that I'm big on, because of the integrity piece, I call out bad behaviour. So I am one of those people that I will stand up for what I believe is right. That can lose you friends. That can lose you people that just don't think that you should do that. But I always will, because I remember when I was younger and people were being horrific to me, people on the sidelines that were watching, knowing it was wrong and never standing up and saying, I don't think that this is right. And I never want to be that person. So I always stand up and go, well, hold on a minute, this isn't right.
Absolutely. The bystander, people looking on, have got such a powerful role to play, but very often they don't do it because they're fearful of what being on the receiving end.
Absolutely. And not being kind and, all the things that goes with that. Like you should just, why are you getting involved? You should stay in your corner and all of those things. And I just don't believe that.
Yeah, it's awful, isn't it? What's happened? So, I mean, moving forward. I mean, can I just ask you also as well? One of the books that you've mentioned to me that was really pivotal to you was the E-Myth.
Yeah.
Do you want to explain what that's about for you?
Yeah. So the E-Myth, basically, we all believe that to be an entrepreneur, you have to have entrepreneurial tendencies and knew you were going to be an entrepreneur the whole time. and do certain things. And actually that's wrong. Anyone can learn to sell things, to make money from things. It doesn't matter where you've come from. And I love that book.
Yeah, and so I think what we've really been touching on a lot as well is about that inner confidence, isn't it? Because the things that happen to us can really knock the self-esteem, they can knock the self-belief, the self-worth, even like sort of like down to self-image and all that sort of stuff. And to me, it's all packaged up in confidence.
But confidence can be learned, remember. Like people always say, I have no confidence. If you'd have met me 10 years ago, you wouldn't have even recognized me. And now I'm one of the most confident people know. People always say you're very confident. And I wasn't. But I think that confidence derives from self-worth mainly. Yeah. And if we're going to allow external influences to decide our own self-worth, we'll never be confident. Because if somebody says something good about us, then we're going to be confident then. And then as soon as someone complains about us, then we're not going to be confident. And our ego is going to go like this. And we can't live like that. That's exhausting. So I think that you need to really own your own self-worth, like who you are, good and bad. Like we all have flaws. Write down all those flaws. Write down all the things you're good at. Like, are you a good friend? What kind of things make up you, the essence of you, the bad and the good? And then take it all and decide that you love it anyway. Yeah. And no matter what happens, you're going to love it with your flaws. So then when somebody says something to you that's bad, you can take it, you can learn from it, but it's not going to hit this core of self-worth that you already have. It's going to bounce back off. And the thing is, if you're going to do that with things that are negative, you also have to do it when people say positive things. You can say thank you, and you can enjoy that they've had a good experience about you, but it's not going in. You already know who you are. You don't need anybody else to be telling you that.
Yeah, it's about validation, isn't it? And I think people do find it really hard to accept compliments about themselves, because I think if they're not believing in themselves, what they think is, well, why have they said that? They're actually too cautious to accept that compliment. But having that self-belief, it's really important, therefore, sometimes to actually address the things that have happened in your past. I'm always, when I do coaching, it's solution focused and it's looking ahead. But you still have to address the things that have affected you.
I've had to do quite a lot of that. I've had RTT, I've had lots of different mindset coaches to address all of the things that have happened to me, so that my self-worth stays intact, no matter if I get bullied online, no matter if I do a course and people don't like it, no matter if someone says that I don't look good that day. It can't have an effect, because self-worth isn't about what other people believe about you, it's what you believe about you. So that's the only bit that matters. But sometimes we don't like ourselves, so we have to work on that too. And that might be because of things that have happened to us in the past as well.
Yeah, and that self-love is so important, isn't it? I mean, there was National Kindness Week recently, and I was talking about kindness to self a lot in groups. And it is so important for people to actually start realizing that, you are the most important person in this world, not anybody else.
Be kind to you.
Yeah. And yet you say those things, here, chimp again, you say those things to yourself that you wouldn't say to your enemy even. You just wouldn't.
No, the things that we say, the things that we tell ourselves in our heads, like, when you do something wrong and the first thing you think is, oh my God, you're so stupid. I mean, if you do that to yourself enough times, you're going to start believing that's true. Yeah. And then you're never going to be able to get where you want to get to, because you've told yourself it too many times. It's about hearing what you're saying to yourself and cutting it off. Yeah. And not allowing you to talk to yourself like that anymore.
And that's where I think whenever I do talk about confidence and work with people in confidence, I work on resilience. Because you've got to have the two going together, because the resilience is the bounce back ability and your ability to actually take those knocks that people will give you or life will give you, and being able to bounce back again and be able to say, look, okay, that's happened, but that's in the past. Look at the present now. This is the present. That's all that's important. The past is in the past, isn't it?
Yeah, I think resilience is really important as an entrepreneur. Like, probably one of the most important things that you need is resilience. Because you're going to need to bounce back. Let's not pretend that it's always going to be easy, because it isn't.
Yeah. So, it's been so good talking about all this, because we've talked all about confidence, resilience, and we've learned so much about you. I think it's been lovely for people to see a different side of you. They see you obviously as what you do as a business, but sometimes I think it's really nice to get to the core of the person.
Yeah, it's been lovely chatting.
I mean, have you got any vision for the future? Where you're going with it?
A bit. I don't think too far ahead, but I have an affiliate launch coming up in October. That's my big thing that I'm working on right now, my very first affiliate launch. So that's going to be fun. And then, I've got a planner coming out. I've got a TEDx talk. I'm going to Necker Island to meet Richard Branson next year. So there's a lot of things happening, which are all great things. It feels a bit like a whirlwind at the moment because there's so many good things happening. But I just like to see where things take me a bit, because people assume that when you get to 7 figures, your head goes, right, how are we going to get to multi-7 figures? And I've seen too many people do that with a downfall. And I'm not sure I want multi-7 figures. I kind of like my life how it is now. And so for me, it's much more about now getting a sustainable long-term business model that allows me to have this lifestyle forever, not just for now.
Yeah, and I think it's about what your motivation is, and keying into that. What is your motivation? If it's just money, sometimes that isn't going to work.
No, it can't just be about money. And money was definitely one of my motivations. But how much money do you actually need? When you've given away the money that you want to give away, and when you're doing that regularly, and you've got the things that you want. We moved into our dream house this year, which we bought during lockdown, and I have a great life. I now need to think beyond that as to what legacy I want to leave.
Yeah, because it's like when you do the rocking chair example, and like you're looking back on your life, what do you want people to be saying about you? What will you want to be doing, feelings and saying and having, in your life? I think that's a really important thing, isn't it? I think people do get bogged down in worrying about the future, but I think sometimes it is having a plan, but it's also then looking at the present and what you can do about it now.
And enjoying the journey. There are way too many people that are like, when I find the right boyfriend, then I'll be happy. When I hit 6 figures, then I'll be happy. When I hit 7 figures, then I'll be happy. Just enjoy the time along the way, because actually the bits you remember when you look back are the bits in between. They're not when you hit the figure.
I think it's so wonderful that you're actually making a priority to actually enjoy your life with your children and all the rest of it. Just can I share Claire Fox's message, comment here? Oh, I know Claire actually. She's we've done from a performance background. That's lovely. She's got twins as well.
Ah, you got twins. Cool. There's a lot of us out there.
I know there's a twins sort of like big community, isn't there, worldwide?
Yeah. We should do an entrepreneurial twin club.
Do you know, I'm very fascinated. I don't want to ask you too much if you don't want to talk about it. I'm fascinated by this affiliate launch.
It's going to be fun. I can talk about it. Yeah. So it's what normally happens in my business is I'm very, very lucky to have people that have done my courses shout about it. Every year I get loads of new people come into my course, my one-to-many course, because people have shouted about it. And this year I wanted to reward them. So every single time someone sells my course during this week-long launch, they're going to make just as much money as I am. I'm going to give half of it to them, because I think that can really work well. And it means that there'll be new audiences out there that know about me, but also I can help more people. But I want my clients to make passive income. And this is a way they can make passive income by selling it.
So is this through the one, and that's actually so clever, because then of course it's still perpetuating your business model, isn't it?
Absolutely.
And is that from one to many only?
Yeah, it's only for one to many that we're doing it for in October. Yeah, because we did a £300,000 launch during lockdown of one to many, just with me and nobody else. And so we thought, God, what if we actually started paying these people that are always recommending me anyway? They'd shout about it a bit more. And so maybe we'd get even more people. So we're just experimenting. I think it's a year of play, because no one expects anything in 2020. We've already all written off 2020, haven't we? So if we've written it off anyway, we may as well experiment and play with our businesses and see what happens. And that's all I've been doing all year, trying new things.
You are so lucky that your business is mostly online, isn't it?
It's all online.
It's all online, yeah. Do you ever do lives? Do you meet sort of face to face usually?
Yeah, my membership club, we meet in person when we can. We've got a party that we're going to do when this is all over. And I have a mastermind, and I meet up with my mastermind clients every now and again. But I have retreats as well. So I retreat in Cornwall in October with like 18 women, where we're all just going to go and have a holiday together. So I do some, most of it's online.
Brilliant. Oh, well, Lisa, it's been absolutely amazing talking to you. Is there anything you wanted to share, or any tips you wanted to give? Or
the biggest tip is to just I think the biggest thing is to just be consistent. If you're in this place right now where you're thinking it's not working for me, lockdown has ruined me, all these different things, be consistent. Things are cyclical. Things will go back up. And those people that are there for their audiences and that are giving right now, they're the ones that people are going to remember and that will buy from. So be the leader that you know you can be.
Brilliant. Absolutely. That's fantastic. And I think that's an amazing place in which to stop. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Absolutely amazing talking to you. And then, and I will actually be sharing this because we had a bit of tech issues. So what we'll do is we'll be sharing this out, won't we, to Instagram and to our Facebook pages again. And so people will be able to catch up on this. But this is obviously a series of conversations I'm having with lots of amazing, inspirational people. And I'm really, really pleased that you've been able to come on and join us. Thank you so much, Lisa. And bye, everybody. Thank you very much indeed for listening. Take care.
Yeah.
If you want to leave any comments in the chat bar, I will actually come back and answer them. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.